You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou. It is February 2nd, 2022, and we are back again with another Read and React edition of the Greeks Gridiron, where we talk about all the latest news. I kind of give my reactions on them, and we all discuss in the comments section down below. So make sure, while you're watching this video, let me know what you guys think of some of the stories we're talking about today. Make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you enjoy what we are doing here and help support me and the channel. So let's talk the news for today. There's been a lot going on the last couple of days in the NFL, most notably our lead story for the day, and I think everyone has been talking about it at this point. He was actually on CBS, I think it's CBS Good Morning, if I'm not mistaken. Former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores is suing the NFL with racism allegations in pretty much all aspects of what they have going on over there, through the hiring process, through the firing process. It's bringing to light what has been like an undertoned topic, I feel, for quite some time now, in a way that hasn't really been brought to the NFL before. Colin Kaepernick is a good example of this. When that was all going on, he pretty much was blackballed by the league for a while before being given an opportunity later on at a later point, when the NFL kind of tucked their tail between their legs and admitted they were wrong about the whole thing. But, I mean, there's only one black head coach in the NFL right now. It is what it is. I mean, it's pretty apparent. It's no pun intended, pretty black and white when you look at it. And at this point, there's been a lot of like conversation talked about here and there about black coaches only having interviews to be allowed to just to have the opportunity to say that they've been interviewed for positions. And I don't really know how that really benefits anyone, but that's essentially kind of the feel that's been going on, or to satisfy the Rooney Rule, whatever it may be. It's a pretty messy situation from what it sounds like. I'm very curious to see how this whole entire case goes, because from what we're seeing here, he's accusing the Broncos, the Giants, and the Dolphins with allegations of things. To cover the Dolphins first, then this I feel can open up a massive rabbit hole in the NFL. Stated the Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, offered him $100,000 for every single loss the Dolphins took in 2019 to tank for Joe Burrow, is what it kind of seems to be like, what the sources are revealing here, which is ridiculous, because there has always been like a subsection of NFL fans that believe the NFL is rigged to some extent. And while I don't really know what side of that conversation I actually stand on myself personally, I think that when there's billions and nearly trillions of dollars involved in a topic, there has got to be some sort of manipulation going on in some shape or form. And I'm not just singling out the NFL. I just think, like, when you look at FIFA and what they got caught up doing quite some time ago, there's a precedence for these sporting organizations, which a lot of them are labeled as just sports entertainment industries. There's reason to believe that they might fix a game here or there, or try to form a narrative with certain things winning or losing. And I don't know how deep it could possibly go. I don't want to get into all that, because that's not the point of this conversation, but it does open up a pretty crazy rabbit hole that at some point in time, I would definitely like to just kind of dive down that rabbit hole and talk about open-endedly and just kind of see what you guys think. But that in itself is pretty ridiculous on its own. On top of that, he was also stating that he was pressured to bring in a prominent QB, which sources were apparently telling people from ESPN that the prominent QB at the time was Tom Brady. He stormed out of that meeting, was not going to have anything of it, and then later was treated with disdain and labeled non-compliant and difficult to work with, and not able to get along with players. And we all kind of heard the narrative that was going around about Brian Flores, I want to say about a year ago or so, I think prior to this season, when a lot of that conversation was happening. He also stated that the Giants only interviewed him basically to satisfy the Rooney Rule. He revealed the text from Bill Belichick that congratulated him on getting a job, which was later revealed that in that same conversation that Bill Belichick, I think it's being presented wrong by the media. I think what it sounds like from Bill's end, if I'm reading that correctly, is not that he thought he was texting Brian Dable. It's that he got word that a Brian was getting the job and he thought Brian Flores, and that's why he texted Brian Flores. I don't think Bill accidentally texted Brian Flores. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but just the way I'm reading that, it sounds like Bill thought he was texting the right Brian, but that he got word of the wrong Brian or he read wrong the wrong Brian getting the job, and that's why he texted Flores and not Dable. I don't really see how, if you assuming Bill Belichick in his phone has them labeled as Brian Flores and Brian Dable, I don't see how you accidentally text a Flores instead of a Dable. Like, those are two completely different names. So I feel like that's what happened. But I mean, also from what it sounds like, Flores thinks Bill Belichick texted him by mistake. I don't know. Just the way I read that conversation, that seems more like what Bill did. Not that he accidentally texted Flores. It's that he texted Flores because he thought he thought Flores was the one getting the job. But then when he read over whatever he got from whoever told him that Brian got the job, he realized, oh no, they were talking about Brian Dable, not Flores. That's kind of that's like some mental gymnastics right there. But that's what I look at that as. On top of that, that congratulations was apparently 3 days before his interview. He actually on CBS Good Morning, I think it's Good Morning, I don't know, that he felt humiliated, embarrassed. He still went along with the interview anyways, and rightfully so. I feel like, if you're going into something knowing you're not getting the job, but you're just doing the interview as a formality, like especially with the conversation that this all encompasses, unbelievable. I major respect to Flores for being able to go into that conversation with composure and be able to manage himself through that interview, not like seething in anger. On top of that, apparently there's a similar scenario that he talked about as well with the Broncos, where the brass showed up an hour late for his interview. Everyone was clearly hungover. They were obviously drinking a lot the night before, and nobody really seemed to take the whole interview seriously. So at this point, it seems like, the issue that has been talked about a lot in the NFL with just the lack of, black head coaches or, front office management, whatever it may be, it needs to be expanded upon. I think that's something that everyone can agree with at this point in 2022. I don't think this is a hard thing to grasp or understand. It just seems that the old rich whites up top over there in the NFL maybe see things differently from their miles high mounds of money that they're sitting on, whatever it may be. At this point, the NFL and the teams have all responded. They've all said their pieces about it. Most notably, in my opinion, the NFL going out of their way to deny everything and call Flores' accusations meritless. I don't really know how you could just call these flat out meritless accusations right off the rip like that. You haven't really looked into them, so I don't know how you would know that they're meritless, but whatever you want to do to try to do damage control. And if you have not, I would definitely recommend you checking out the interview with Brian Flores. I've watched some of it, but I plan to sit down and watch the entirety of the thing. But just from the very few minutes that I did grab from it before I started recording this, it seems like a pretty powerful interview just to kind of hear what he has to say about everything. Flores is clearly a well-spoken guy. He does not seem like the off the hinges type of person that can't get along with anyone and blah, 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 just based off of what I've seen from him in his interviews. And then this interview specifically, he does not seem like the guy that had a picture painted of him as some guy that can't get along with anyone. He doesn't seem like that kind of person. He just basically, in essence, with this whole situation, he gave up his entire coaching career in the NFL for this. And I think that speaks volumes about him as a person. If you want to try to label him that he's just trying to, be all me, I didn't get a job and blah, 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 go ahead and run with that narrative, but you cannot be more off base and incorrect. I think at the end of the day, we all need to listen to these grievances, and especially for white people, and myself included in this, I've never really had an instance where I felt like I didn't get a job because I was a white guy. I feel like I will never understand the difficulties that black people have faced in the world when it comes to trying to get jobs or trying to just move up and move forward in life in multiple instances, not even just career-wise, but in every aspect. So we need to collectively get together. We need to listen not only to the grievances, but also to how they feel changes need to be made to make them feel equal as well. And I don't think that that's a very difficult thing to ask for, to take the time to listen. I don't think that it seems like the world these days, everyone has a hard time listening, but it's not an actual hard concept to grasp. We need to listen, and we need to hear them out on their grievances and also what they feel needs to be done to make those changes. Now, off to the next few topics that we have here, some smaller things going on here. One kind of a big thing, the Washington football team today. They have announced their team name. They are now the Washington Commanders, Inspiration apparently came from the area that they are in, close ties to the military. They've been searching for a new team name now since I believe July 3rd of 2020 was the day that I got that all like was the furthest I found that date go back to. Team president Jason Wright, who was hired pretty much around the same time that this whole thing was starting, and this is when the team was being scrutinized for their toxic environment and the cheerleading scandal and everything like that. So he has been kind of spearheading this whole organizational change and rebrand and just environmental redirect that he has been doing here. Hats off go to him, because this guy has been working hard to kind of flip the narrative of this team. And he was pretty much put, along with Ron Rivera, when those two came in, into like a complete nuclear wasteland after everything that was coming out and what was going on. But Washington Commanders is the new team name. I'm very curious to see what you guys think of the team name. I'm fine with it. I don't really mind it. I didn't really have like a dog in the fight for what the name ended up being. To be honest with you guys, like if I'm giving you a completely transparent answer, I don't really care what their name is. I was just curious to see if the logo was going to be cool or not, and it seems like the logo is going to stay pretty similar to the W that they were doing. It's just like a slightly altered variation of it, which I'm fine with. I was expecting maybe some sort of commander or something like that somewhere, but they had a really cool classic circle logo. I'll put them up on the video for you guys. I'll make sure to edit them over here on my left side so you can see what I'm talking about. But Washington Commanders, they are now the team of the NFC East, and it'll be interesting to see the direction that this team continues to go, and maybe they can build off of the year that they had. At this point, they kind of took a step back, so maybe they'll take a step forward this offseason. We'll have to see how it goes, but Washington Commanders is the team. Another piece of news, and this one is awesome for women in football. And for some reason, I think it's because of just a lot going on in the news world right now. This was something I had to kind of like dig around to find. It wasn't even on the Panthers website when I was looking into the information for this, and it was like a footnote when I found it. Kristi Coleman has been promoted to the Panthers team president. If you do not know who Kristi Coleman was, she had spent 8 years as the director of finance for the Carolina Panthers, and then the last couple of years as the chief financial officer for the Carolina Panthers. She was just promoted today to that president role, taking over for, I believe his name was Tom Glick, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what his name was. I forgot to write it down. But she becomes the Panthers' highest-ranking female executive in the organization now. Hats off to her. The NFL struggling in some departments, but doing well in others when it comes to, equalities and whatnot and allowing people into the industry. But this is obviously a big win for women in football as a whole. I wanted to make sure I touched on this. Great news for her. Great news for women trying to, push their way into the industry. So hats off to Kristi Coleman, the new team president of the Carolina Panthers. And then the last piece of big news to talk to you guys about, and this is another one of those things that it's newsworthy, doesn't really affect me, but Broncos fans, do you have any sort of underlying interests as to like who ends up owning the team going forward? Do you have anyone in mind that you think would be a good fit for owning the football team? The Pat Bowlen Trust has announced yesterday that the team would be put up for sale. If I'm not mistaken, there was a lot of legal things going on with this. No, you know what? I'm thinking of the Spanos family fighting over about the Chargers. I lied. I take that back. The Pat Bowlen Trust, maybe they were having some issues too. I don't know. But they have announced that they are selling the team. If you did not know, Bowlen had purchased the team back in 1984, and then beyond that, a few years later, you have the success of the 90s of the Broncos, making it to a few Super Bowl trips with John Elway, winning a couple championships, and then ultimately they won that 2015 Super Bowl 50 against the Carolina Panthers with Peyton Manning. But it seems like a new era is unfolding in Denver now, as George Patton was just hired as the GM in 2022. John Elway got moved over to the president of football operations, so he's not as front and center as he was. And then obviously Denver recently hiring Nathaniel Hackett to be their new head coach of the team. So there is some significant change going on in Denver. Denver, really good defense. Offense that needs a quarterback, some great skill talent. I'm excited to see what, direction the Broncos end up going in as well. While I'm not somebody who really cares for team names and who owns the NFL teams per se, I do hope that when things like this gets changed, the direction of the team can also get changed as well, because it's one thing to just sell the team to somebody else or to change your name. It's another to actually win some football games and be a contender in the league. But some exciting news nonetheless for these teams. But this is pretty much all I got from my read and react for today. Like I mentioned, I think the last video or the video before, I'm playing around with upload times on this one, so you'll see this one pop up at various times throughout the day in the coming weeks until I find like a good niche spot for it to be. Let me know what you guys think would be a good time to have this video go up. If you have a preference or anything like that, what you all think it would be convenient for you. I would like for this to be kind of like something that you could listen to on your way to work or coming back from work, something like that. But that is all I got for you guys today. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Happy February, and I'll catch you guys later.